Board Councillor debate for the 2022 City of Ottawa municipal election. I'm your host, Anthony, and I'm here with council candidates George DeRuse, Bob Mazzaro, Bruce Faulkner, Dan O'Brien, and Doug Thompson. So thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. Okay, so how this is going to work, we received a bunch of questions in advance. There's about 14 questions overall. Because of the time constraints, unfortunately, it doesn't allow a lot of time for response. We want to make sure everybody has an equal opportunity to respond. So we'll have about a minute 30 per candidate for a question. I'll start with a different candidate each time. That way people will have an opportunity to maybe gather their thoughts a little bit more depending on the question and so on and so forth, just to try to make it as fair as possible. And I'll go left to right as if I'm reading, so I'll start with George when we start. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow 2 minutes for opening remarks, 2 minutes for summation at the end, and as I already mentioned, a minute 30 to answer each question, and we'll start with a different candidate each time. Cue cards will be provided right here. So when we have 15 seconds remaining, and when your response time is up. And of course, most importantly, relax, have fun, and everybody, please be respectful of each other. We sincerely appreciate your candidacy and look forward to hearing from you directly. Thank you. Okay, opening remarks. We'll start with George, please.
Microphone. Good evening, and thank you, Danny, and the CJRO Radio for hosting tonight, and also the Carlsbad Community Association for hosting us here tonight. My name is George DeRuse, and I have served Osgoode Ward since 2014 with pride. Je suis le seul candidat qui parle les deux langues officielles. Je souhaite la bienvenue au village de Carlsbad Springs et Vars dans le quartier 20. I'm seeking re-election to continue working on protecting our rural lifestyle while also ensuring that residents receive their fair share of services from the City of Ottawa. Mes résultats démontreront mon engagement envers nos résidents à l'entretien de nos communautés. I've brought Osgoode Ward voice loud and clear to City Council over the years for many topics, including our neglected road infrastructure, which has now had a majority of arterial road repaved as well as an interior residential road. Amélioration des intersections entre Bank et Mitch Owens, Bank et Rideau, Gordon Murdoch et Damney, un domaine qui n'a pas reçu l'attention dont il avait besoin pendant plus de 20 ans, était l'intersection de Mitch Owens Magnetic Station à Greeley, que j'ai pu aborder en 2017. Community arenas upgrades for ice pads, seating with Wi-Fi is coming soon, along with over $5 million for expansion to Larry Robinson Arena in Metcalfe. Our residential parks have been upgraded and renewed based on the community requests and feedback. Designs, many more coming ahead of schedule. Parmi les autres questions importantes sur lesquelles j'ai travaillé avec les conseils et le personnel citant de la modification des limités des quartiers, le financement de services pyramidaux, l'embauche de policiers supplémentaires et le montant de coûts de construction de longuement abordables. Je promets que si des consultations supplémentaires sont organisées, je tiendrai des réunions en personne dans votre comité.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you very much for wrapping up. Okay, Bob. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bob Mazzaro. I am running for councillor for Osgoode Ward 20. My wife, Kathy, sons Andrew and Paul, and I have lived in Osgoode for over 30 years. We do appreciate where we live. However, as over the years, I've grown very concerned with how the city is being run and Osgoode Ward's role in it. I've been extremely disappointed with the approach that our local representatives at Ottawa City Hall Council have taken to present the concerns of citizens of Osgoode Ward. Only 2 people have been councillor for Osgoode Ward since amalgamation. First, Doug Thompson and his protege, George DeRuse, have blindly voted for every expensive project that the city has ever come up with. I'm running because I want to stop the constant tax increases like the stormwater rain tax and advocate that we get our fair share from the taxes we pay. In fact, I have a petition to repeal the stormwater rain tax that I would like you to sign. Despite their many photo ops, manipulations of the truth, and attempts to vote buying from their taxpayer-funded office budget, these 2 individuals have been miserable failures as true rural representatives. In conclusion, I am running because I want to completely change the narrative of how we are represented in council. If elected, I will stand up and speak out, insisting that the constant tax increases need to stop and that we get back our fair share from the taxes we pay. In addition, I will always defend high-quality rural way of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce.
Thank you. I want to start by thanking you guys for coming out today. I don't know how daunting it can be to arrange babysitters and stuff like that. My name is Bruce Faulkner. I'm a candidate for this ward. I live in this ward. I'm immediate, just down the road. I'm 56 years of age and lived in the city of Ottawa all my life. I lived in many wards in this city, and I find that this is the best ward in the whole city. It has a unique lifestyle, and I don't think I'll ever move out of this ward. My main occupation for the 30 plus years has been a truck driver. I've made a good living doing it, and I've supported myself through the way. And I think it's going to be a very big asset in the up-and-coming Tawin development. There's going to be a logistics problem with transports moving through the ward. And like I said, I think that's one of my biggest assets is coordinating that traffic. If elected to council, though, your councillor, my primary goal will be for people, not things, not transit ways, not bridges, not OSAG developments. It's going to be for the people, and we're going to need to focus in on people immediately. With the demographic changing rapidly, I believe that we're going to have to start taking care of people in our ward that we used to just wave to and say hello to on a Saturday when we were cutting the grass. Again, that's all I really have to say, and I appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator, fellow candidates, and radio listeners. My name is Dan O'Brien, and I'm a candidate for councillor for the Osgoode ward. The Osgoode ward will soon include southern parts of Gloucester and the southern parts and rural parts of Cumberland. My family has lived in the Osgoode area for generations, which makes me extremely passionate about and committed to continuing to improve and make this ward better for the people who live here today and for those who will join our community in years to come. My campaign includes the protection of farmland and the enhancement of both larger and smaller farming operations. As a director with the Osgoode and Metcalfe nonprofit seniors buildings, I have a good understanding of the needs for more affordable housing in our community. The wait list is approximately 4 years to get into one of these buildings. I would work towards easing the restrictions and delays for construction of new houses and approvals and look into various types of residential options such as infill housing and tiny homes. I support natural gas pipeline construction for rural residents, the improvement of waste disposal and recycling programs, and increased ambulance resources for improved response times. I would encourage working with the province to develop a more robust home care system, as our seniors are an important part of our community and they deserve to stay at home as long as possible. Over the past couple of months while visiting residents of Osgoode Ward, the number one concern that I've heard is speeding. Although there have been many traffic calming measures, I guess approximately $600,000 worth of them put in place, there are still some drivers that for whatever reason feel the need to speed. Simply stated, we need more police to assist with enforcement. Our youth are important. They are our future. We need to ensure they have easy access to community facilities, recreation programs, and sporting opportunities. I will represent the residents of Osgoode to the best of my ability with an open, accessible, transparent ward office and by bringing the concern and suggestions of the community to committee and council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Doug. Yep, we'll reset the time, of course.
Hi, my name is Doug Thompson, and I'm so proud to once again be a candidate for councillor Osgoode Ward. I've lived in the area for over 50 years, close to this community, and it would be my honor again to serve as your councillor. As a matter of fact, I coached minor ball back here in the mid-1970s. Having served 14 years as councillor and 3 years as mayor of the former township of Osgoode, as well as 14 years on city council, you gain an enormous amount of understanding with dealing with residents and their concerns. I retired in 2014, but seeing the issues that are confronting our city, I was inspired to seek re-election to Ottawa City Hall. The LRT debacle, the soaring capital debt, and over $3 billion in that capital debt, our crumbling road infrastructure, the lack of police presence in our communities, the lack of ambulance availability, the stormwater levy tax on properties and private wells are a major concern to a lot of people. Also, we have the energy evaluation plan that was passed in 2020 that could see up to 720 windmills in the city of Ottawa at a cost of $57 billion over a 15-year period. The most frightening concern in this area is approval of the Tawin Project. People move into this area for a quiet rural setting. There was very little public consultation, even though the city politicians were well briefed before the residents were invited to attend Zoom meetings on the project. This council has lost the trust of our residents. We need to work at renewing trust in our city council. That is my commitment to those present here tonight, to all residents in Osgoode Ward, and to those across the city. I have the dedication and the experience to serve your interest at City Hall. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so there's about 13, 14 questions that were compiled from people in the audience and people that weren't able to make it tonight. First question is going to be asked by my broadcast partner and good friend Adrian.
Hi, folks. I'm Adrian Becea, the president of the Community Association here in Carlsbad Springs. Community associations such as ours work very closely with the councillors to get solutions for issues that are urgent in the community, not just, planned issues. For example, right now we have a lot of farms that are partially destroyed by the derecho in May that we had in this area was stronger than other areas, and winter is coming. So the city was hoping for provincial funding for emergency coverage, and the insurance companies are backlogged, but they'll pay eventually. But these farmers right now have no way of paying for emergency repairs. The community association intends to ask the municipality to advance funding for emergency repairs for these farms. The insurance companies will eventually cover it, but we need it now. And I'd like you to describe your strategy for how you would pursue timely action on issues such as this within the Ottawa City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. So, George, you get the first opportunity.
Thank you. I know that in May 21st was disaster in the city of Ottawa. We had a storm that ripped through our city, and I'm mostly in the east end of this area in Carlsbad, Farmers Way, all the way to Navan. I seen the damage myself, and unfortunately, the insurance company right now, they're slowing down. There is some farm need assessment, and there is multiple residents that have been affected. The city council last week passed a motion to urge the province, the motion came through council last week, to urge the province to have an emergency fund, and to making sure that the city of Ottawa be able to help those farmers that have been impacted. The amount of the dollar is very high, and we're working closely with each one of those farmers in the meantime. We need to find a more strategy for next event is happening. I hope we need to do that, but this is all need to be looked out. The city payer of the city of Ottawa, they cannot afford to pay for all these farm and for all these damages, but we will be working with our federal government and province to secure those funding.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Part of my platform, and it was in my brochure that eventually you would be getting, I was going to create an emergency services plan, if elected, which would arrange help, including financial, for rural citizens in need. Example for flooding, hydrologies, wind damage, septic issues, wells, and so on. We should be pre-planning done to ensure that there's some funds there so that if anything ever happens like that, there's a number that the people can call just to get some financial help to get through an issue. And hopefully something like the derecho never happens again in our lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to quote Bob Shirelli. We're in serious financial debt. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. $6.2 billion in debt. I don't know, $6.2 billion. $350 million past the city budget. $250 million in interest every year. We have to change the way we do things. And I'm trying to be serious about this because I lost some trees on my place, and I called my insurance, and I was delayed by the insurance, so I took it upon myself to do it. Now, I'm able-bodied. There's some people in the community that aren't able-bodied. This is where we have to become a community. We have to all pull together and say, Mrs. Brown's tree's down in her laneway. Her husband needs to go out and get groceries. They're of senior age, and we all pull together. That's the way they did it in Metcalf, where George sits in an office. They have a community hall down there that was built by the community. Bricklayer came in, put the building up. I know it's, how many years ago would that be, George? That building was built where you're in? Over 100 years? 100 years ago. So you could just imagine how they pulled together in probably some of the toughest times 100 years ago. So we're going to have to change the way we look at everything in this ward. And we're going to have to really pull together as a community more than ever. Like, I don't see any other way. Government doesn't help you. It just highlights your problems. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I think I would have to confer with Mr. DeRuz on this. I don't really think it's a city issue. I think we need to have support from provincial and federal. And the idea of having a central number sounds like a good idea, at least to instigate or start the claims process. But we just owe too much money. We can't, as a city level, we can't start doing paying out individual claims. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a really interesting question, and it's been asked by many people in the Carlsbad and Vars and Navan area. My personal opinion is it was a devastating storm. You just have to drive up Russell Road, and there's a riding stable up there that lost its canopy, its main source of income. I think, and I have some experience with issues like that. I was the mayor of Osgoode Township during the ice storm, and it was, I think, a worse case scenario. But given that, I believe the city missed the boat with the province. I think there should have been a declaration of a state of emergency of some sort. The farmers in Navan, just outside this ward, and some within this ward, are very emotionally upset because there's no support. The city, I think, should have contacted the province at the time, got some assistance down here. That program, my understanding from the city, from the province, is over. But I think that the city has to go back to the province and get additional funding for those who need the help, because it devastated so many businesses and individual properties in this area and outside Osgoode Ward that something has to be done to help them. And the city has to work with the province to get funding to support those residents.
Thank you. So for the next question, I'm going to read it. I'm going to need some help from our fine candidates here. I've heard you pronounce it a few times. Is it Tawin? Or Tawin. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So question 2. If Tawin is rediscussed by the City Council and put to a vote, will you vote in favor or against it? Bob first, actually, this time.
If elected, I will definitely, without doubt, vote against it. The project has been a shambles from the start. There's just going to be such impact on the environment. There's going to be an additional cost to taxpayers. There'll be an impact on city services. They will have an impact on traffic. There's so many issues that it's difficult to describe them all. The way that it was arrived at originally was so wrong. The people had to be consulted first. They had to be, the whole point of people being in office is to represent the people. So I don't understand why the people weren't consulted. Secondly, the way it was quickly put through was unacceptable. It was because of the official plan. It was all because they wanted to get this official plan into the city. The good news is the official plan has not been passed yet. And at first, as soon as I was there, if I was there, I would be at the city trying to get all the other councillors to agree with me to go back to the province to get that stopped. And for right now, I would think that we should go to groups like Ecology Ottawa to get their support to help us to prove that this is a huge environmental impact. And
unfortunately, we're out of time.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob. Bruce?
I got a map of the proposed satellite city present day. If anybody wants to look at it after the debates, I'll show it to you. There was 3 satellite cities proposed in 73. They totally ignored this area. They said there was an issue, was a poor quality choice because of a Lolita clay. So they went to Canada and they went to Orleans, and now they have a big green. Sorry, Bob. They have a big green spot there. That's us, the circle. The question was, if asked how I would vote against it because I haven't consulted the residents. My obligation is to ask everybody in this room how you feel about Tawin. My personal opinion about Tawin is a totally different story. I want to be pragmatic. I want to make the best bang for my buck when I sell my house. If 53 or 47,000 homes come into this ward over 25 years, geez, I'll be 81. Scary. That's a huge economic boost for this area. When I believe in 25 years, up to 25 years, there'll be a stifling of economies in the city. We'll be begging developers to come into this ward. And we have the opportunity now to pick and choose what we do with Tawin. It's like a Christmas list. You say, listen, we want to keep the forest protected, or we want bicycle paths, or we want transit ways. We can approach them and demand it before development happens. We're in the driving seat right now. We should take advantage of that.
Thank you. Dan?
I would also vote no initially, unless the developer can come back and get the agreement of the majority of adjoining landowners. I had a brief chat with Michelle Taggart at an Ottawa Board of Trade meeting, and she explained to me that it was in the infant stage of planning. So it was. I do see both sides of it, but because of the lack of consultation at this stage, I would vote no. Okay. Thank you.
Doug.
Thank you very much. The Tawin project, as you all know, it's a massive new suburb that is to be developed in this area. And I think the main concern from the residents, and I think it's highly acceptable issue, is that there was very little consultation. The City Council was well briefed by City staff in the fall of 2020. The City Council knew what was happening. I think part of the problem that, and for the residents in this area, that you were between councillors. Stephen Blais had moved on, and there was no actual councillor for this part of the area. This issue was passed by City Council. The official plan went to Toronto. Toronto had the province of Ontario said they have some issues with that aspect of the official plan. They haven't approved it yet, so the new council will have an opportunity to review the official plan when it comes when the new council takes over. I certainly would not support it. City staff did not approve this area as an expansion for the urban boundary, and so therefore it should not have happened, and I would not support it when it does, and it will come back to City Council.
Okay, thank you. George, I'm sorry. I forgot where I started. Go ahead, please.
The official plan is under the Provincial Act. We have to submit official plan. The growth management that was asked to us and tasked by the province to add 550,000 residents in between now and 2046. You need to put those people somewhere. First of all, those land are not agricultural land. What we did right now in the official plan, we just highlighted the land where we like to see the growth happening. There is area study need to be done. The province has to approve those land, and nothing is going to move forward without the consultation of the resident. The city is obliged under the act to deliver their official plan. Otherwise, the province will do it for us. In Hamilton, in Toronto, so many areas, the province interfered and did their official plan. You don't need to do this to be happening in Ottawa. This is not even shovel in the ground ready. They have to do multiple area study, and when they do this study, they're going to come to the city council, and based on the criteria, what they're going to find, then we'll make a decision. At that time, the public will be consulted, and these are just reassurance for those people that they're spending millions of dollars to do that study to see if they can put Taiwan here. They need an assurance, and that's basically, I've been explaining it to my resident in this area. But of course, some people, they get it, and some people, they don't understand it. And I'm not going to commit to any vote unless I see the result. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this a debate? I like to debate the question here. I want to rebuttal.
We don't have a lot of time for that at the end. Maybe in the summation.
It's an unrealistic plan. They're planning for like an area of the size of Belleville with 45,000 people in it. I'd like everybody to go down to Riverside South or Findlay Creek and look at what they have there and the kind of housing they have there, and see the community. The single family, which we all love, the single family house will be a thing of the past in an area like this. Now, that's not what you want. I really don't think that's what you want. So I think we have to voice our opinion. We have to take a petition and voice our opinion to everyone to get this stopped now. It's not. You can't wait around. You have to do it now, as soon as possible. Don't vote for these two guys that are never going to do anything, because they're going to be right there, and they're going to be.
We need to move on. Next question. Anybody else? Yeah, actually, go ahead, please.
So, I get it. There's a lot of passion. I'm bullseye, dead center on this. Like, I'm right in the middle of it. I'm going to be impacted from. Yeah, you guys you're right, Mr. McKenna. I agree. But where's development going to happen? Think about the urban sprawl we have now. We have all the way to Canada, going all the way past the Queensway. We got a transway that's useless and cost us a fortune. That's history. We have to think about where you're going to be in 20 years, what you're going to want to do in 20 years. And my exit strategy is to sell my house, maybe move to Florida and wear some white socks and drive a golf cart. I don't know.
Anybody else?
This is a very hot topic, and it's very important for the community. But think about it. Where does your kids want to live? If you don't build homes for them, where do you want them? In your basement? Everybody doesn't want it in their backyard. Well, it's not your backyard. These are land was highlighted back in 1970. But the province right now is looking and reviewing it. Nothing is going to happen unless it's been approved by the province. So if you have a problem, contact your MPP.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, I think that, and I think the people in this area are well versed in this issue, because they have studied. There wasn't an opportunity for them to get information or be consulted, but the residents here have done a lot of research. In this land, there's no infrastructure. There is no water services. Just I didn't interrupt you, so don't interrupt me. So there are areas. The city staff gave a higher score to an area in the Canada area that is closer to the services, but for some reason the qualifications for an expansion of the urban boundary were I think watered down a bit. This is not the right place for the development now. It just isn't. Okay. And city council the new city council has to take a look at that. It just doesn't make any sense. And the councillors on that committee, ARAC, have said One said, Councillor Al Chantier stated, over my dead body will any agricultural land be developed. Well, there is agricultural in this area that is going to be developed if this project goes ahead. So it has to be stopped.
And we're out of time. I want to make sure that Dan gets an opportunity, though, if you have to, any additional remarks that you'd like to add?
I just would like to make note that everybody had their 2 minutes in the beginning, and everybody has gotten away from the rules, and please state them again.
Okay. Yes, we'll do each question. We will do a minute 30 for each question, and we will continue on that way. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. Okay, so next question. Bruce, you're first up. Very simple question. How much money from development community has been contributed, indirectly or directly, to your campaign? $0. Okay.
Mike again.
Yeah, please.
$0. And you know what? If I get elected to city council, I'll pass a motion that it should be illegal to sit on a chair or a board or collect corporate dollars and then have a bias. Even if it's a perceived bias, it's still a bias. My only bias should be for the community. I'm not going to sit on I don't even want to say the boards. I'm not going to sit on anything. I'll directly respond to them. I'll be in consultation with them. I'll work with the communities and explain to them what the special interest groups want. But you guys are my only interest. That's the only way I'll do it, and I will not do it any other way. I collect no campaign corporate dollars. You got to see my sign outside, right? Nobody bought that. That was my nieces and nephews who made that on a Saturday. You can't buy that, and I wouldn't sell it anyway. No, we got to be responsible as councillors. We got to be responsible as people that are overlooking your well-being and working for your best interest. And that's the only way we can do it, by only having one interest.
Thank you very much. Dan.
I received $0 from any developers. I have not asked anybody for funds. I was surprised and impressed that various people did approach me and have donated to my campaign, but 75% of it is still my own money.
Wow. Thank you.
Thanks very much. My position on Tawin is going to neuter any development. Excuse me. I didn't interrupt. I don't like to be interrupted by you, sir. But you know, I don't. My position on this on Tawin is going to ensure that there are no developer-funded proceeds to my campaign. We are getting donations: $100, $200.
Yeah, let him talk, please.
No.
Go ahead, Doug.
Okay, but you know, we're getting, one guy donated $109, $200, $50, $30. So that is important for me. And you know, one thing that I have to say it right now, it's hard to raise funds for campaigns. But I'm not being facetious about this. People are stealing our signs. It costs money, and taking them out there, taking them and stealing. We have them on video camera. I just ask that those people, if they would wait until October the 24th and then join our team of people who are taking our signs down, that would be very helpful.
Okay. George.
What was the final answer for you?
What
was the dollar amount?
No donations from developers. And I just said I don't think I have to worry about that.
Okay, thank you.
My campaign receive only legal donation. So whatever contribute to my campaign, I will not ask them where they're from, and I will not ask them, as long they're legal and they are personal under the Municipal Act and under our election rules, I'll accept all the donation. Nobody can buy our vote for $500 or $300. But let me remind the resident that they're sitting here and asking this question. When you take your parents to the cancer treatment in General Hospital, when you go to CHIO, when you go to the Heart Institute, all the people that you're talking about and bashing them, they are the people that they're building your community and your hospitals. have some respect and look at their last name and remember them when you take your parents for treatment. Because when you need something in your community, they're the first people you run for them to help and donate to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bob?
I take absolutely no campaign donations. I work for the Heart and Stroke and for the Kidney Foundation, and for years I've had difficulty getting donations from people for those kind of charities. So I never thought ever to take any donations from anyone. I've bought my own signs. I put my own brochures. Anything, pens that I have, everything that I have is from my funds. What I would like to do and ask you all is take a chance, go to bobmacero.ca and go to a site called Incumbents Again. And it shows there where all the donations that Doug Thompson got in 2010 and who they were, is such as Taggart. It shows that all the donations that George DeRoos got in 2018. And then my son has gone through the effort of showing the connections to the directors and presidents of corporations that are given the donations. Therefore, you'll see that everything comes indirectly from corporations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next question is going to be asked by Lucy, if you do not mind. Thank you very much.
Anthony, I have two questions, but I'll flip it. I'll take the second one first.
Sure.
Okay. Alors, bonsoir. Depuis que la patinoire fut transférée de chemin Thunder à ici, nous essayons d'obtenir du financement de la ville pour installer des lumières et un réservoir d'eau suffisant pour que l'équipe qui s'en occupe puisse s'en occuper sans trop de problèmes. Nous n'avons pas été chanceux. Alors, comment allez-vous vous assurer que cette situation soit réglée? And I will repeat this in English for those of you. Since the ice rink has been transferred from the old community center, which was on Thunder Road, to the community center here, we've been trying relentlessly to get to the city of Ottawa to give us some funding, to have lights, and to have a permanent water reserve, because the team that actually puts it together runs out of water every time they do it at 11 o'clock at night. So that doesn't go very well. So far, how will you ensure that we get this financing? Because this is not applying for grants. Because everybody else gets this money to have an ice rink, and we don't.
Okay. First up is going to be Dan this time. Thank you.
I don't have a clue. Sorry for the flippant answer, but I honestly don't know how you would proceed. If I was elected, I would surely be able to rely on a team that I would hope to build and be able to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think that building community resources is an important part of the city, and the rural areas, I think, are at a disadvantage, in my opinion, over the last 3 or 4 years. There are funding availabilities for projects like yours. I just finished a stint with the Greeley Community Association. I know that there are numerous grants that are available. I think that if you are able to get in contact with the right people at City Hall, there certainly is funding available for projects such as yours. There parks have been developed all over the city, all over the rural areas. You have a beautiful location there, and there are resources available. So I certainly, if elected, would be willing to work with you, because there is funding available. I'm not sure why that's been an issue, but and I know there are other communities across the ward. VARS is looking; they would love to have a community center like this. I think that's something we have to address as well. But funding for projects like yours there has to be a funding scheme available to help you out, because it's very difficult to always go to the same people locally to get money, and so the city should help with those resources. Yes.
Thank you. George.
Thank you. Il y en a deux manières pour approprier pour l'argent pour la communauté. Il y en a le fund CIL, que c'est chacun conseiller, il a de l'argent dans son budget pour ajouter ou pour réparer quelque chose dans n'importe quel parc ou n'importe quelle communauté. So there is a couple way you can have the funding. There is a CIL that every councillors have control over it, and they can build in the community for specific parks improvement. And also there will be the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee that they can also use and utilize to be able to apply. I cannot give you the answer, but I assure you, if j'étais élu, on va travailler avec vous, nous autres, puis avec la ville d'Ottawa pour appuyer ces projets avec la communauté association. Merci.
Merci. Bob.
Certainly, the community has to be involved. A public-private involvement should take place, where we're going to have to get some fundraising things going on, etc. That we have to prioritize. Also, have to prioritize the needs of an area. Like at this point, I could see that as a councillor, we have to definitely work on several things, such as the roads and things like that. So it has to be in conjunction with how the funds are available. But I think eventually we should be able to get it done. Yes.
Thank you.
Lucy, the area you're talking about, did they get funding before it came here? So how?
We didn't have any. Well, we didn't have the community center. The ice rink was at Thunder Road, and of course it was sort of end of life. So we actually worked with the councillor then to bring it over here.
Okay.
So it was always a temporary arrangement.
Okay. So my question is, how did they do the rink before that, or before the end of the life?
Over there, it was a permanent rink with boards. And I mean, like I said, it was getting to the end of life, but it was there with the lights.
So it was funded.
So
at
whenever
one
they
point
moved
by
it
city?
back here, we didn't get the lights. So the only way we could get a rink was to put it on the ball diamond. And then we get the ball players being a little pissed at us because when they get to go and play in spring, well, you can tell, how it looks. So I've come up with a few situations where I know where we can put the ice rink, but then I'm told that there's no money.
Okay.
Oh, it's $150,000 for lights. I don't have that in my back pocket.
Why don't we have a Carlsbad? What do they call it in the wintertime? Like
the carnival.
Carnival.
Well, we have it all the time, and we do their curling.
And do you raise money doing that?
Yeah, but that's for the Optimist Club, who does stuff for the kids.
Okay.
I mean,
but is there a revenue stream that you can use doing that though?
It would be through the community association, but I mean, we're not there to actually raise money to get a rink that we should be getting anyways.
Okay.
That's the part that I'm getting
But
upset.
you agree that there's priorities in the word, right? Like we have to really...
I know, but I mean, there's priorities.
And I agree that we need the rink, by the way. I agree that it's a fundamental for children to get out and exercise.
I was told to actually...
We'll have to call time on this one, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, though. Appreciate it. Okay, next question. Presence of endangered monarch butterflies has been identified by residents of Carlsbad Springs, and they will be applying to the government for immediate habitat protection of the Carlsbad area. Will you be supportive of this work with this group, and if need be, to continue to protect the endangered species and their green space habitat? And this goes to Doug, actually.
Thank you very much. I've sat on the South Nation Conservation Board for a number of years. These items are very important for conservation. I know that there are projects in different areas that have been stopped because of endangered species. I'm not sure with the Tawin project whether there was a real analysis done by the Conservation Authority. I would really like to see that report, but I think that is an important issue that City Council has in the past not allowed development where there's endangered species, different types. So I think that we, for this particular project and any area that's up for development, that should be a primary way of ensuring that none of these resources are going to be endangered by development. So I think that's a critical issue that we have to deal with.
Thank you. George.
Thank you. This is a very good question, and that's the reason we are doing area study right now. So there is nothing will be submitted through the city for any approval before we do EIS, which is environmental assessment. You have to do soil assessment. You have to do many other layer of work through the engineering. And also, as my role as I was the South Nation chair, and now I'm the past chair, and I sit on that conservation authority. We are cognizant. We understand the environment, and we're working with all our staff and all our people on the community to making sure, because of course, if there is endangered species, the city will never allow any development or any improvement. So this is done before, and we'll wait for those reports. So thank you.
Thank you. Bob, whenever you're ready.
As mentioned earlier, I think it's important that we get environmental groups like Ecology Ottawa involved in this. And as I've promised one of the people here already, in November I will be circulating a petition to voice our opinion to the city about this. And definitely we think that there's some endangered species here that need to be protected, without a doubt. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce, whenever you're ready.
So I'm going to revert back to the expert, Lucy. Lucy was on the dump to dump committee, right? You were with Sue and everybody. There was a lot of ecology studies done on so all that stuff has been banked, right? It's all there for us to look at. So the protection of wildlife and the ecosystem, it's all been done. It's all been done. Now we could spend more money and do it again. We could do the geological studies that they did in '73 for the satellite city. They did recently with the dump to dump movement. They did a study.
We just made observations this summer.
Yeah, and if you have additional information, I bet you there'll be there'll be formats that you could submit to, and I'm pretty sure that it'll be heard by the right people. My point is, we could spend a lot of money talking about getting the same stuff done, or we can use what we have, and all this stuff has been done. It's been done. How did they pass the dump?
This is a different project.
Okay.
This is for solar panels behind the
Okay.
Farmer's Way. I have the report from 2015. We shouldn't have been considered again for any other projects given these endangered species.
Unfortunately, we have to move on. Thank you.
Carlsbad Springs has identified these endangered species. Join up if you want to help us.
Hello. I have the
thank
answer
you, Dan.
for this one. I think we can do a lot as individuals. 2 years ago, we moved into a new property near Osgoode. We planted 2 butterfly gardens. I spent all day yesterday dividing these plants. They grow like crazy if you look after them. They're all native plants, and it's just pretty simple for each one of us to do our own little bit. And I think that would be step one. Obviously, if there's an environmental issue with protected species, that would be a totally different issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we get the start at the beginning of the table again with George. So next question. If we once again have extended power outages, will you insist to hydro companies they put the needs of rural residents with sump pumps and a lack of water ahead of residents with municipal services? And that one goes to you, George, to start, please.
Thank you. Power outages are really reoccurring events happening lately. We have been hit by windstorm. Our infrastructure right now, it's not really taking the hit that the weather has been forcing on us. And those are all under the control of the Minister of Energy. It's under Hydro One, and some of the residents in this area is under Ottawa Hydro. We've been working since the storm on recovering 540 poles to be changed since there is a lot of outage happening right now with the small wind, and this is because some of the power that was restored, it was temporary. So we need to work with our resident. We have some programs. The city implemented program before to help the resident to buy a battery sump pump, and we always have new initiative working with the province and the federal government, making sure we have funding to fund those funds, because the taxpayer of the city of Ottawa cannot afford buy pumps for rural residents all the time. But we will be working with our energy authority to making sure those reoccurrence doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Bob, whenever you're ready.
Way back when I worked on the roads, and a lot of the trucks had equipment that could run machinery while you were drilling and things like that. In these situations, the city should have become more involved in sending these trucks out to help people in need. And as I said, there should be a phone number that they can phone to get people out immediately. Actually, the ice storm response was excellent at the time, and thanks to Bob Shirelli at the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce.
Well, we've already started ramping up, I guess I don't know the right word. They put a 3-phase wire down Mitch Owens. They wrapped it up Thunder Road. There'll be a twin tower eventually running parallel to parallel to what we have now. We just can't I think the Ontario government can't justify the increased load on additional towers with no development. So the 3-phase wire has gone up Mitch Owens, like I said, down Thunder Road. It'll wrap all the way through, and it'll be adequate when it's done. We just got to be sort of like the LRT. Everybody says, "Oh, what a mistake!" But when it's done, we'll have to live with it, and it'll be right. It'll be a good system once it's done. We just got to bear with it, and hopefully we don't run out of money before that.
Thank you. Dan.
I think if I was looking after hydro, I would be doing pretty much what they did last time around, going to where the masses of people are, and the smaller isolated areas would be left to last. We have to look after ourselves. A simple generator or a battery pack is going to fix your sump pump. I live in a rural area too, and we had our fridge was running on a generator, and we were lucky we didn't need a sump pump running at the same time. But you just can't go and start picking smaller areas over mass populations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much, and I think that probably everyone in this room has experienced power outages at some time or another, some longer than others. The rural areas of the city are rather unique because we have some areas that are served by Hydro Ottawa and some by Hydro One. I think, and I see Gord Rainey, he's worked for Hydro One. I think that the city has to coordinate with those two bodies. Hydro Ottawa gives a huge dividend back to the city. Maybe they should keep some of that and help improve the infrastructure. But I think both those corporations have to sit down. The infrastructure, the lines and the poles, some of those can't withstand the velocity of the winds that we've seen, but some of those facilities are in bad condition. I think that those two corporations should go back and take a look at the infrastructure they have in place. I know the village of Osgoode, for some reason, they are always having power issues there. So perhaps that's an area that Hydro One should take a look at. And so I think that is a situation the city should get those two corporations to sit down and try to figure out a solution to help as much as it can to improve the infrastructure for our electricity distribution.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, next question. Bob, you get to start with the responses. So women make up more than half of your future constituency. In the last municipal council, 2 councillors are found guilty by the Integrity Commission of disrespecting women and asked to apologize. Can you give us some examples from your past work that would demonstrate to women that they will be listened to and concerns respected?
could you repeat the question? I don't quite understand the question.
Okay, no problem at all. I'm just reading it as it's written here. My apologies. So, first point is women make up more than half of the constituency. From there, there was two councillors were found guilty from the Integrity Commission of disrespecting women and asked to apologize in the last council. And the question is, can you please give us examples from your past work with the public that would demonstrate to us that women will be listened to and their concerns respected?
I'm a teacher, and I have been a teacher for 40 years, and obviously I respect everyone else that's in the classroom or in the hallway or in the staff room. So I don't think there's anything I have to answer about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce.
Women are going to change it. Women are the benchmark. Women are driving dump trucks and doing things that they said they couldn't do 25 years ago. I don't listen. Yeah, I believe it's going to be a different world in 5 years, 10 years. It's going to be a non-issue. There'll always be inappropriate behavior and comments made to women and made to men, bad behavior all around. It'll be addressed. It was addressed. We can move forward and make a better society, I know.
Thank you. Dan.
In a previous career, I had over 100 people working for me. Majority were women. Our number two, after me being the boss, the number two person in line was a female. Not because she was a woman, it was just because she was the best person for the job. We had zero tolerance for anything, and whether it be a male or female getting harassed. And when you're talking about previous councillors, some of the stuff that was in the press was horrific, and I would like to see the province make a rule that council could, with a very, maybe almost unanimous support, get rid of a councillor. That would be my position on that.
Thank you. Doug.
Thanks very much, and I think that's a very important question. I taught school for 34 years, not as long as Bob has. I've been municipal elected official for quite a few years. I've always treated everyone equally. I don't believe that anyone should be treated differently. The respect for everyone. So that I think answers the question. You have to treat people with respect, no matter who they are. So that's my opinion.
Thank you very much, George.
Yeah, I agree with Doug in 2012 because he has experience. Because in 2012 he faced also similar criticism what I faced myself, and this question directed to me. There is a legal case. I cannot discuss much about it, but I did, as the IC did the investigation, I did send a letter to apologize, and Doug knows that. Everybody make mistakes, and we all apologize, and we move forward. But if these issues occurred from the other case that we've been talking about, Council passed motion today to ask the province under Bill 3 that Councillor Stephen Blais is putting forward to be able to remove councillor if they misbehave and if they found guilty by the Integrity Commission. So my case is never that close. It says always there is an issue between constituents. They got a hard feeling. And you know what? Let's move on and move forward. We learn from our lessons. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, next question. A topic that you've already all brought up during their conversation. Speeding on our rural roads is a big problem, as you all know. And there's a concern that it's only a matter of time before someone's seriously injured. So the question to all the candidates, starting with Bruce this time, will be, what will you do to help address this problem?
Yeah, my profession is driving, so there's a thing called ton mile. I'll explain it. So you can either get paid by the hour when you drive dump truck or by ton mile. I think that should be banned at its city level, and it should be banned immediately. It forces drivers to speed in a dump truck. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's definitely not right. But enforcement is a big thing. Enforcement on companies that push their drivers to drive trucks at a dangerous speed in order to get their quota, their 10 runs a day, it's a recipe for failure. And it's the onus is on me. I never did it. I've lost several jobs because I refused to do it. I refused to work for the Tomlinsons of the world because of it. I shouldn't say that out loud. Liabilities. But, you pick and choose where you want to live your life, and if you want to be reckless and foolish, you're going to be reckless and foolish and pay the consequence.
Thank you.
I totally disagree with what Bruce just said. No company is going to be telling their drivers to be speeding. Commercial vehicle operator registration directly, CVOR, directly penalizes the corporation. They can actually start losing a percentage of your license plates for your vehicles. So I just, personal experience, that's just not really an issue. Not saying it's totally, but generally speaking, it's not an issue. When the city first took over, they had sort of a flying squad of officers, and they would go in, and like half a dozen officers, and they would pick a location, like in Osgoode Township for whatever, and they would set up 3 speed traps. And they might only show up once every 2 months, but they really whacked the area. Wow. Next week it might be Manotick or Carlsbad or wherever, and I think that would be sufficient to slow us all down a little bit. That would be my solution.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for the question. Policing is probably the number one issue in the ward, across the ward. The issue, in Osgoode ward, we had a community police officer, 2 community police stations. Then we reduced it to 1 in Greeley. 2017, that community police officer, in-person community police officer, their office was moved to Orleans, so you couldn't come in, sit down, and talk with them, and that has to be changed. I'm kind of old-fashioned, but I think that in regard to speeding, we have to have more police presence. They have to be out, ticket people if they're speeding. We have had crime rate in Osgoode ward has gone up by about 15%. We've had carjackings, we've had 2 shootings, we've had arson. We need better police presence in the rural areas, and I don't think we need to worry about hiring more police officers. I think we just have to get them out here enforcing the rules that are required, and a better police presence will reduce the acts of vandalism that were occurring. Just a couple of nights ago, someone set a table on fire behind the Greeley Community Center. Pure act of vandalism. So we need better community policing and more police presence in the rural areas.
Okay, thank you. George.
Thank you. This is a very good question. We got hit with COVID, and we ran in the country from our homes, from our offices. We have technology. We have $120,000 police officer yearly. We pay for them, and we equip them with cars, with tools for them to be able not to sit in brick and mortar. They are out doing their enforcement. Yes, we need to report those speeding. And we've been working very closely with the company. Listen, I'll tell you something. I've been working with the Trucking Association. If my resident complain to us, we have a special unit in Ottawa Police. We do an enforcement. We call the company. Collectively, we can work with them. You have some truck driver, they will never obey the law, but those are the people that they need to be enforced. And then slowly, if the people report them, we'll send the Ottawa Police to give them ticket. But if you work collectively with companies, they have risk management, they have risk on their driver. If you contact the company directly, and I've done it multiple times myself, and they will be, they don't take their zero tolerance for them speeding or being dangerous on the road. We need more enforcement? Absolutely. Where are you going to get the money to get budget? Councillors cannot operate the police. People have to understand that. Under the police budget, under the Police Act, you cannot direct any operation and telling the Ottawa Police where they employ in the operation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob.
Policing is one of the most important positions that I think in of anyone. I respect those people so much, and I think that we need more police officers by far. I think any time that I see that they're going to increase the number of police officers, I'm all for it. I know that there's going to have to be other things that are let go, such as the third phase of LRT or things like that. Ahead of far more, you need the police officers, and enforcement is really important. My son Drew and I were out recently trying to put some stuff in people's mailboxes, and we were actually scared because of the way that people were speeding by us, and even going over where there's gravel that was just been recently done. We need to. We were saying at the time, we need to see a police officer out here. People will be slowing down if they see that. Also, I think they should have rotating photo radar, like at least buy a couple of photo radars, set them up. Don't tell people where they are, and just have it like that. It's recorded the speeding so that they get some tickets. See if we get a few really expensive tickets, they'll start to slow down.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Lucy, would you mind? Thank you very much.
Encore une fois en français, et puis je vous l'ai dit en anglais. Avec l'ajout de Carlsbad Springs et du village de Vars au quartier d'Osgoode, le pourcentage de francophones va sensiblement augmenter. Alors, étant donné cette réalité, comment planifiez-vous assurer un service en français comme l'a fait Catherine Kitts, qui était notre conseillère, afin de bien desservir la communauté francophone? So what I just said is by adding the Carlsbad Spring and Vars villages to the Osgoode ward, the percentage of francophone residents is going to be going up. With this new reality, how are you planning to ensure francophones in your ward have access to services in French, as did Catherine Kitts, which was our councillor before, in order to serve adequately the francophone community?
Thank you. Dan?
My number one priority would be to hire someone who is fluently bilingual to assist me. Again, in a previous life with my school bus operation, more than a third of our business was conducted with the French School Board. Our employees that worked for that section had to be fluent in French. I was able to accommodate that in a business environment, so I'm pretty sure I could help with this as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. In the existing Osgoode ward, we do have a significant French population. I've always had a fluently bilingual person in our office. That's never been a problem for us, and certainly even on my campaign team, we have 3 fluently bilingual members, so that's not an issue. It is important that there be fluently bilingual staff in the councillor's office, and that's something that I've always had and would ensure that continues.
Thank you. George, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. On parle, je suis le seul candidat qui peut parler et communiquer en français avec les résidents. Maintenant, on a changé tout le courrier, toutes les communications avec la communauté pour faire les 2 langages, en français et en anglais. We switch all our platform and we switch all our communication, including newsletters and website, to be able to deliver in both languages. The city of Ottawa have an adopted bilingual language, so we have a lot of translators. We have a lots of tools in our toolbox we'll be able to use to commute with the resident avec les 2 langues. So, c'est pas un problème avec nous autres. On va faire le maximum possible pour communiquer avec les résidents, toujours et en fois. Merci.
Thank you. Bob?
Firstly, I have to brush up on my French. It was back in grade 13 was the last time I spoke French, and certainly if I was elected, I'd have someone that completely bilingual in my office. my sons and I have been learning to use the translate on the computer, and we're able to translate now to 14 different languages, and so that we even had a Chinese newspaper asking us for some questions recently. So it's a real fun tool to use, and we've been using it extensively, and that's what we'd hope that everyone in our office would be able to use. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think everything's in place already. I think we can improve it for sure. And if there's a demand for it, we should go for that. And if the residents come up and say, "Listen, we're not getting service in our official language," then we should treat them to what they want. You pay for that, and that's in place now. So we'll just keep it status quo, and if it needs to be tweaked, we're going to tweak it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Saved one of the best questions for this. We're close to being at the end, then we can open up the floor. And saved one of the best questions here for the end. If elected, what are the things you feel are most important for Carlsbad Springs and VARS in the upcoming years, especially given the current state of city and the country financially? And the first person to get this question, I believe it's Doug this time? I started with Dan last time, right? Sorry, guys.
Well, I think it's interesting. Our team have delivered pretty close to 7,500 flyers. We've canvassed a good portion of the ward. There are a variety of issues. I know in VARS, their plea is that they won't be forgotten. It's that village is growing. They need funding. They would love to have a community center like this in VARS. So that's one thing that they feel is very important. I think Carlsbad, there are a number of issues here. Tawin, we have to deal with that. The roads, there seems to be a second to Tawin. This is the number one issue is roads and speeding. And so Piperville, Thunder Road, the traffic congestion on Boundary Road with all the development there is a big issue for the residents of Carlsbad. I know I delivered some flyers on my bike along Boundary Road, and it's vicious, the speed of the trucks and the cars on there. So I think that those are two issues that the residents in VARS and Carlsbad Springs they wanted to feel inclusive. I think by and large they're pleased to be part of Osgoode Ward because it's a rural mixture, but there's a lot of things that need to be addressed in both of those, and it's becoming loud and clear what those are.
Okay, thank you. George.
Thank you. We're running on our record. In the last 7 years, we brought over $100 million in infrastructure to fix our road. If you drive Osgoode Ward, Main Road, Stagecoach, Mitch Owens, Domney, whatever, just to name through, lots of people love the new pavement that we've been doing. I've been talking to the resident in Carlsbad and in VARS. I know they have concern. The road, Thunder Road, you got Piperville. You cannot drive a car on them. Those are the priority for us to ensure those infrastructure to be able to deliver to the resident. On top of that, VARS have a problem with water. Before we build a community center, we need to address their water issue. They have a fire station far away and close to the tower, but they don't have water in it. So we have lots of issue to deal with. We've been talking to the resident. We're learning from them. I know I spoke to some community resident here. They need the pavement outside the community center. They like Lucy address. We have some light issue. We have park improvement. Those are necessity. We are the lowest level of the government, but we impact your door every day. We need to focus on the services that we deliver that you pay taxes for. We're not going to get into this right now, but resident pay taxes, we deliver services. That's who we are. We pick up your garbage and we fix your road, we fix your park, we're making sure you have adequate services from the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob.
To get adequate services, you need to be careful with the money. And that's the reason why we're all here, because we're concerned about our taxes. And we have to have councillors to stop voting for very expensive projects like the LRT and taking money from us that we don't have, like the stormwater rain tax and these kind of things. The only way that we're going to get all our roads fixed in this area, and we have the same concerns in this area and in any rural area, is that we're not getting our fair share of our tax money back. And we have to get councillors in there, such as myself, that would stop voting for all these expensive projects. That way we can get the money necessary to do the things that we need here.
Thank you. Bruce.
How many people are from Vars in the room? I suggest you all take it. Perfect. No, don't. Okay. You know, one of the things that's oh, geez. One of the things that I got an eye-opening was going through the village of Vars. There's two houses in Vars, one on Buckland and one on Rockdale. One house houses 32 people with 2 bathrooms. They are the displaced from the mental hospitals of Brockville, and they ended up there because they had nowhere else to go. Rockdale is just as bad, and there was a third one. Thank God they closed it down in time. There were people found dead there. This is a serious issue. If we don't look at the people that live in Vars, and maybe only 50 or 60 people. Can I get a little more? This is serious. Can I just get 10 more seconds? This is serious. If we don't take care of these people in Vars, it's going to spill over. It's going to spill over to our social net. It's going to cost us more in the end. We have to take care of these people, and we have to ask ourselves, how did they end up with 32 people in one home with 2 bathrooms? It's unacceptable that we sit back and ignore it.
Okay, thank you. Dan, please.
I also visited the homes that Bruce is talking about, and they are a sad situation. I do believe that a big part of that would be a provincial matter as opposed to city, or in conjunction with. The number one complaint or comment that I heard when I was driving around was roads and speeding. I told Rick that I get elected to please call me, and I would like to take a ride in his truck so we could find these, so he could identify the bad roads. Another thing, 2 other things that came to light when I was visiting was very few affordable recreation facilities and parks for kids, and people were quite interested in my involvement with the seniors buildings in Metcalfe and Osgoode. They were wanting to know why they don't have one in Vars or the Cumberland area. The initial, in Osgoode and Metcalfe, those ones were done before the city took over, but it would be, as I had mentioned earlier, there's a 4-year wait list to get into them, and it's something that's badly needed out here too. And that pretty much sums it up. Thank you.
Wow, that's great. Thank you very much. So taking a look at the time, we're pretty much close to the end of the time that's been allowed. So we did promise each of you 2 minutes for summation at the end of this, and I want to make sure we give you that. So I would like to go on to that if we could, please. So I would like to give George the floor, and please go ahead. You have 2 minutes to cover whatever you choose.
Thank you. Je veillais que Osgoode quartier recevoir des fonds importants et nécessaires pour des améliorations des mises au niveau au cours des 8 dernières années. Since 2014, Ward 20 has been one of the wards consistently received the most amount of asphalt each year for our road, and it's clear driving those roads you'll see the improvement. De plus, nous avons reçu une amalgamation importante de financement des projets d'immobilisation par rapport aux années précédentes pour nos parcs, arénas et centres communautaires, pour ne nommer quelqu'un. I secured over $100 million in the past 2 terms of council, and I intend to keep bringing these funding forward to our rural communities. Je pense que mes résultats en matière de projets livrés parlent d'eux-mêmes. This is shown by the extensive number of road paved in the ward, pathways renewed, playground replaced, facilities, and over $600,000 in traffic calming measures. Le Conseil de 2022 doivent revenir leçons et garder à la table de Conseil les sujets liés à notre mandat et les éléments à la portée du Conseil. Parks needed to be fixed, and road and safety concern is very important. Funding for police, for paramedic. J'espère que mon bilan et mes améliorations à Osgoode Ward parlent d'eux-mêmes lorsque vous irez voter le 24 octobre le prochain. Merci.
You still have another 30 seconds if you choose, George. Yeah, it's just a mistake was made. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't cutting you off prematurely. Okay, Bob, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now faced with a very important decision on election day. You have before you two individuals, Doug Thompson, who's from the past, and George DeRoos, who is his hand-picked protege, who have been failures as true rural representatives. I say that because they've not really respected the needs of our area, because they voted for every expensive project the city has come up with. This has not worked to help us at all. Be careful who you vote for. The past and the incumbent are not the answer. I don't think any of you realize that are in this area how much effort Doug Thompson did to put George DeRoos in there. So if you're voting for George, you're voting for Doug, and if you're voting for Doug, you're voting for George. And Doug was there for 31 years. Doesn't need to be there again. He never expressed our concerns on council. If you think that he is actually going to express your concerns, you can forget it. It depends on who you vote for as mayor. If it's Sutcliffe or if it's McKinney, forget it. You might be able to get through if it's Bob Shirley. I'm supporting Bob Shirley myself because he's the one that has actually come out and said about the Taiwan Project. I will always listen to you. I will always defend you. I'll always communicate to you and stand up and vote properly for you on council as your true rural representative. Please not step back in the past, but move forward with me, Bob Mastero. Please go to bobmastero.ca and get informed about the issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This term of council is going to be very challenging, to put it mildly. And, you know, with these challenges, there could be great opportunities. We could resolve a lot of issues. We could be the benchmark in the city of Ottawa for training of PSWs and nursing staff. We could have all kinds of housing for low-income seniors and disabled. This is a good thing. This is something that brings the community together. And I really want to be a part of that. I want to make a change in city council. Instead of a tangible, a bridge that we want to build, or an OSAG development that we want to get in with the developer with. I don't want to be part of that. I'll vote for it at city council. If you guys want to spend your money and you say, yeah, let's do it, let's put some hundreds of millions of dollars into OSAG, well, you've made the final choice. But my primary goal will be for the people of this ward and the city of Ottawa. I think this could be a great time for us. It could go two ways for us. It could be a very good time. We could talk about it in the next 15 years and say, my God, remember when there was just a field there and we have now a medical hub that I could bring my mother there to get the cast removed instead of going all the way up to Queenswood Carleton or the Civic Hospital. We could have schools, grocery store. Like, just think about that. Think about we could have a grocery store. How crazy that sounds. And how we've been neglected for 25 years with this satellite city development. And we're still not going to go with it. We're still going to butt heads. And I hope we could get to a common ground and we could figure it out, because I'm not getting any younger, and it's not a joke for me. It's serious. I want to see a community here, a real community.
We moved here for the summer.
Thank you very much.
I envision Ward 20 as a place where rural communities remain just that, rural communities, where children can easily access affordable recreation facilities, programs, and sports fields. Youth and elderly both have opportunities to raise their families and grow old in the same community that grew them. Residents that care about green space, I think we have that. A sustainable environment around them. Services and taxes that are fair and equitable for all, and a government that truly represents the people. I almost was going to say that this was the most civil and cordial debate that we had, but now I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I do appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with you people, and we'll all be around to chat after if you guys would like to talk to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that segue. Dan, I said in Metcalf that a World War II bomber pilot said if he isn't taking flak, he's not on target. So I've been taking some flak, so I guess that means I am on target. I'd like to begin by thanking the residents who joined us this evening to hear about your community and who are looking for someone who will represent them at City Hall for the next 2 years. The other candidates, thank you for your participation in the election. And finally, to the Carlsbad Community Association, this has been a great organization for an important meeting. This is the most important election in our city's history. We have major issues facing the city, issues that this council has not been able to solve. They've tried, but the problems are still there. Light rail, we can't send the trains back, we can't rip up the tracks, but we have to have new eyes, experienced eyes looking at the issues that are there and the provincial inquiry report to fix the problems. The road upgrades, we need to fix our roads. It's a shame. I've driven your road in that area in my van, and I know what it's like. I don't have to drive in your truck. My plans for the rural villages would be to continue the Osgoode Ward Advisory Committee where we meet. Each village we rotate on a monthly basis, meet with the community association presidents to find out what the issues are in those communities, including Bear Brook area. No, but that's where you learn when you talk with the community associations. Ambulance availability hasn't been talked about tonight, but it's a critical issue. There are over 1,500 code zeros where there are no ambulances available, and we have to fix that. The City Council has not taken that as a high priority. That would be my highest priority after December 1st. Okay. On October 24th, you have the opportunity to choose an experienced representative who will listen to you, respect your opinions, and bring those to City Council. With your support, we can restore trust in our local government. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please visit withdoug.ca.
I just wanted to say, I'm very jealous. I don't live in this ward. 5 excellent quality candidates, and it's just been an absolute pleasure. So thank you very much.